Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Biggerplate.com. In this short video, I'm going to give you an overview of our Biggerplate certification. I'm going to explain to you what it is, why you might like to get certified, and then I'm going to tell you about our assessment, how it works, and what you're going to need to know in order to be successful. So let's take a look. So what is Biggerplate certification? Put simply, our certification is independent validation of an invaluable workplace skill. The ability to use mind mapping software in a modern workplace is extremely useful, and we think people who possess this skill should have that skill recognized. Biggerplate is software neutral. We don't make or sell any mind mapping software. However, what we can do is give you an independent validation that you possess a skill that many people do not. Simply by taking our certification assessment, demonstrating your capability with your chosen mind mapping software, you can get Biggerplate certified and something that differentiates you in your workplace. So why get certified? Well, for individuals, this is a great way to boost your resume, show a skill that not many people have, and differentiate yourself as you try to move through your career. For organizations, we think this is a great way of providing validation for maybe your investment in training. We think it's a really great way to ensure you have collective capability. If you, for example, bought 50 licenses for mind mapping software, you want to make sure that 50 people know how to use that mind mapping software. So certification is a great way of just validating that everybody knows how to use the tools that they now have at their disposal, and hopefully avoid wasting software and instead really get the most out of that software investment. So what is the assessment process to become Biggerplate certified? It's a very, very simple assessment. It's usually around 45 minutes on a video call using Zoom or GoToWebinar. And what we're going to ask you to do is open up your chosen mind mapping software, share your screen with us, and then demonstrate a series of actions based on questions we're going to ask you. I'm now going to try and show you using this particular software all of the things that you're going to need to know how to do to pass our assessment, just so you can see how straightforward it is and how really what we're testing here is the basic core functionality of every good mind mapping software product. So let's take a look next at what you need to know, and I'm going to try and demonstrate how to do some of these things. Okay, so the certification assessment is broken down into these 7 very short sections, asking you a series of actions in your mind mapping software, starting of course with basic mind map building. So all we're going to ask you to do here is create a new blank mind map, add some main branches, and then add some second or third level branches just to show that you're capable and comfortable adding out the basic structure of a mind map. We'll then also just ask you to show us that you know how to show and hide topics in your maps using little functions just like this to open or close branches in your mind map. So the first section, very, very easy and unlikely to cause you any problems. The second section starts to look at basic editing and navigation within your mind mapping software. So in terms of editing, what we're going to be looking for is to show us that you can edit the topic text, so perhaps add more information perhaps into the topic. We're also going to ask you to show us how to delete topics, so just removing them from your mind map like that. I'm just going to bring that one back in. And we're also going to look at how to move topics. So you're going to want to be able to show us how to move topics both individually, maybe by just grabbing it and moving it around the screen like this. Or we may also ask you to show us how to move multiple topics. So again, in this particular software, I can just drag across and move those topics up there. Remember, there are also other ways to move multiple topics at the same time. So I might use Control to select multiple topics and then move them onto the same topic. So just get comfortable moving topics around your map, both individually and multiple topics at the same time. We're also going to make sure that you're comfortable just using the copy and paste functions in your software, which are very, very valuable when you start to build maps and you want to work quickly. So just the ability to use copy and paste and add more topics on just using copy and paste, or copy and paste entire branches over somewhere else and take all of those subtopics with you. So these are all really the things you need to get clear on in terms of editing. Changing text, so clicking into it and changing what was in there the first time. Deleting topics, moving topics, and very simple copy paste. Also going to look at making sure you know how to navigate around the mind map. That's moving around, so you might use grabbing the screen if your software does that function, or you might use things like the slide bars down the bottom and the side here, or you might use other functions within your software to move around the mind map. We're also going to ask you just to demonstrate that you're familiar with the zoom functions in your map, whether that's using your mouse to zoom in or out, using your keyboard to go in or out, or again, just using some of the slide bars that might exist in your particular software. So navigating is about moving and zooming. Again, very simple stuff, no problems there. The next section looks at topic formatting. We're going to ask you to do really simple things like change the color of your topic. So in this software, for example, I might just start to change the color in the topic to this lovely purple, red, whatever that kind of color is. We might also ask you to change the shape of your topic. So again, in this particular software, we can just use the main menu to do that. And we may also ask you to change the text, font, or color. And this is all about showing that you know how to use all of the functionalities within your mind map software to really make a mind map that's personal to you or your particular project using the different software functions of your particular tool. Got a bit of a menu issue here. So we're also going to ask you to show us that you know how to make changes to multiple topics. So again, you may do that using the drag and drop or some of the functions, or you might use Control, Select, and make one change that affects both of these topics at the same time. So just get familiar with using some of these formatting options within your mind mapping software. The next area we're going to look at in your assessment is visual interests. A lot of things we can do in mind mapping software, and obviously a big part of what we want to use in mind maps is visual information. So we're going to ask you to do a couple of things. We're going to ask you to show us how to add images into your mind map. We're going to say, can you show us how to add an image from the software library? So within most mind mapping software, like this one, you'll have an inbuilt library of images that you can use to brighten up your mind map. We may also ask you to show us how you'd add an image to your map, but from your local files, the photos, the images that are on your computer. So again, depending on how your software works, you might open up a menu like this, up here around images, and say let's get something like that. That's a very big image, so let's just resize that here. So we're just going to ask you to show us how you'd add images from the software library or images from your computer. We're also going to just check you know how to delete them once you've put them into your mind map. So again, adding and deleting images in the map. We're also then going to look at icons and markers. So we're going to look at how you might use things like a priority marker, adding that to a topic to give it some visual significance, and also potentially changing it. So again, in this particular software, I can right click and click to change, or I can even just click on the topic, or I can go back over here to the side and change the icon that way around. So adding icons or markers within the map, really this is about identifying priorities and things like that. So get familiar with using these kind of icons and markers in your map, and you'll have no problems with this section either. Relationship lines can be very, very useful in your mind maps, particularly when you want to show connections between information. So we're going to ask you to show us how to add a relationship line. So again, in this software, what I'm going to do is just add one in here and connect these two items up together. And what we're also going to ask you to do is show us that you know how to format that line, how to maybe make it look a little bit different, or maybe make it a different pattern or whatever it might be. So adding relationship lines and making sure you know how to change that and edit that line itself is a very simple part of this particular bit of the assessment. Next section or next question will be about boundaries or borders. So that's about putting a wraparound border around lots of information. So if, for example, we wanted to add a boundary to this whole section called visual interest, we would do it just by adding up here a boundary like that. Now that's going to work differently depending on which software tool you're using, but this is what we want to see, is somebody putting the boundary around the information at the right level so that it wraps up everything else beneath it. We're also going to ask you to show us that you know how to change the map background. Some people like to use different colors in their map. So again, we could choose to use a slightly different color in our map background. Lots of people don't do this very often, so it's a question that can trip people up. So make sure in your software you know how to change the background color of your mind map somehow. I'm just going to undo these two actions so that we've got a little less chaos here. So that's the visual interest part of our assessment, and you're already more than halfway through it and no doubt doing great. In this section, we're going to ask you how to use some of the functionality within mind mapping software to add extra information to your map without necessarily creating extra clutter. So we're going to ask you to demonstrate a few things. First, we're going to ask you to show how to add hyperlinks. So for example, if I want to add a hyperlink to this topic in this particular software, I've just used a little shortcut there, and I can add in a link to biggerplate.com and then save that in the software. Now we also want to make sure if you've added a link that you know also how to go back and change it if you wanted. So again, in this particular software, I can right click, say edit link, and say I want to change that and point it very specifically to my profile on biggerplate.com, and then the link has been edited. So adding hyperlinks is a great way of creating little signposts for yourself in your mind maps to other information. So we're going to want to show you, you're going to want to show that you can add and edit those nice and easily. We're also going to ask you to show us that you know how to add links or attachments to files on your computer. So perhaps you want to attach a proposal document or a Word document or a PDF that you've been working on. So again, depending on which software you're using, you're going to have lots of different ways to do it. In this one, I can, for example, use the attach function. I can go to somewhere on my computer here, hopefully somewhere I've got a PDF, and I can attach that there. And again, I've got a little paperclip there that tells me I've attached a file to this particular mind map. So practicing with your file links and attachments. And then finally, using the topic notes, a really powerful function within mind mapping software that allows you to put a huge amount of information just beneath the surface without cluttering up your mind map. So again, topic notes in this software, what we can do is up here, say insert topic notes, and then add extra info over here. Now again, that's going to work differently depending on which software you use, but more or less it's going to work just the same. You come at it different ways, maybe right click, whatever it means. But topic notes are a really important part of mind mapping software. So we just want to check that you know how to add those on to any topic within your map. Final section within this part of the assessment is about exporting maps. So we're going to ask you to create a PDF. Now on this particular software, the easiest way to actually do this is to just say Control Print, and you see I've got an option there of saying Print to PDF, and if I click OK, that's going to create a PDF version of this map nice and quickly. Or we're going to ask you to show us how to export to an image file. So exporting to a PNG or a JPEG file. Again, we've got lots of options in our software to save as an image, and then we're just going through the different options here depending on what kind of file we want to create. So again, it's going to be different in your software, but just make sure you know how to create a PDF, or a JPEG or a PNG file, just so you can show us that you can share a mind map with other people even if they don't have mind mapping software. Finally, we're going to just test you a little bit of Biggerplate knowledge. If you're going to be Biggerplate certified, you should probably know a little bit about Biggerplate. So this is the least important part of the entire assessment, and if you've made it to this far, you're doing absolutely fine. So we're going to ask you some really simple questions just to make sure you know who we are. We're going to ask you about our focus, and we focus on 3 things. Conveniently, they all begin with T. We focus on mind map templates, tutorials, and training. So if you can remember the 3 T's, you'll be absolutely fine with that question. We're going to ask you about our membership types. There are 2 types of membership on Biggerplate. There's basic membership and there is pro membership. Basic, of course, is our free membership that gives you access to the mind map library. We're going to ask you what each of those memberships allows you to have. We're not expecting you to remember all of the features and benefits. The key things you're going to want to remember: basic membership on Biggerplate allows you to download mind maps and upload mind maps. Very simple. That's what most people are here on Biggerplate to do. Download mind maps and upload mind maps. In Pro, we've got a few different benefits and features, and again, we're not expecting you to remember all of these, just a couple that you're going to be able to tell us. So benefits of Pro membership on Biggerplate: you're going to be able to join all of our live Pro webinars. We have weekly Pro webinars with mind mapping experts from around the world, and Pro membership allows you to join those live, ask questions, and really learn from experts around the world. Pro membership also allows you to view any of those webinars on demand after they're recorded. So great benefits there for Pro members, and hopefully nice and easy to remember. Pro members also get discounts on mind mapping products and services. They can access a brilliant image library, so if you want extra images to use in your mind maps, we've got a brilliant library of images that you can import into your software. And Pro members can even share their own mind map videos. If they've got videos on YouTube related to mind mapping, Pro members can actually share that on their Biggerplate profile. Now again, remember, we're not asking you to remember all of these things, but just get familiar with some of the key benefits and you'll be absolutely fine. The final area we're going to ask you is supported software formats, and this is a really important one to remember. We're only going to ask you to name 2 or 3 of these. We don't want to know the entire list, so you just need to keep in mind, Biggerplate, you can share mind maps created in a lot of different software products. That whole list there, I think, is 12 or 11 programs. We're not asking you to remember all of these, but if you can just think through a couple of the different file formats that you see on Biggerplate, then that'll help you tick off that final question. So that's what you need to know to pass the Biggerplate certification assessment. I like to think of it like a driving test. We're not asking you to prove you're a Formula One racing driver. We're just asking you to show us that you understand how to use the basic core functions of your chosen mind mapping software. And most of you watching this will be able to pass that assessment without any problems. The pass mark is 60, and this bit down here is worth a low percentage, so just focus on your mind mapping and you'll be absolutely fine to pass that. So finally, remember, relax. We want you to succeed. We want you to get certified so that you can really validate that software skill that you possess. And finally, from all of us at Biggerplate, if you choose to pursue certification, we wish you the very best of luck.